Hello and welcome to another episode of Questions on My Mind. And I've actually been recording today with two coaches. And the coach I have with me today is Preyia. And Preyya's an intuitive life coach, helping people to deal with inner and outer conflict and live in alignment, I would say, if that's correct. Correct me if I'm wrong, Preyia.
Yeah, and I create strategies around that, which are both practical and sometimes spiritual. But yeah, create strategies around that.
And I've had the pleasure of working with Preyia before. Us coaches need coaches as well, and experience firsthand the immense intuitive sense that she has, which is phenomenal. So it's really good to be able to have this conversation with you. And it's interesting because where I am now with my coaching practice is focusing on self-leadership, self-mastery, and what the presence we bring to the world, and making decisions that align with what we truly want and knowing what we truly want and need is. So I've been doing lots of posts about that. And this morning, I was recording a podcast which was supposed to have been about Kundalini yoga, but it just veered off. So energetically, there is something going on because it veered off into a conversation which aligns with what we're talking about today. So it kind of went down the route of the different masculine and feminine energy that we have within us. How for many thousands of years we've lived giving our power away to external authorities and external powers, whereas we're now coming into a space where we're having more sovereignty and speaking up more for ourselves and wanting to do what we want to do and believing in our truth more. So I thought that was a brilliant segue into our conversation this afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
And where I was going to start our conversation was with, when we hear the word leadership, we tend to think of it in terms of leading others in a corporate sort of setting. We don't think of it in terms of how we lead ourselves. But I think if you're going to lead other people, your self-leadership is paramount. People who are under your charge, so to speak, will take the lead from you, from how you show up, from the energy that you give. So I think my first question was going to be around, what does, I call it radical self-leadership. When I say radical self-leadership, what does that kind of, what do you intuit from that?
So when I hear the word radical, I think for me, I pick up the vibration of it being so important that we need to be waking this part up. And there's two parts to leadership. So people can easily get confused with being a very good entrepreneur and what's needed on a management level to what's needed as a leader, which is much more inspiring. It's very thought provoking, and it is directly linked to your own intuitions, having a very well developed gut instinct or intuition if you're female. And so when I think about radical leadership, I'm seeing it as being a force that we need to all be tapping into within ourselves. That's the way I read into that.
Yeah. And what we were saying this morning was that we're so far removed from that, like the way we live. Sometimes I don't think people even know what they need, let alone what they might want, because we just live in this energy of triggers and reactions and my previous guest was worked for 20 years in advertising,
Mhm.
and was very much all of that kind of triggers emotions from you that get you to react in a certain way. So
Yeah.
we kind of just live in this soup of emotions, reactions, distractions, and very rarely do we ever kind of just come to center and kind of think, actually, do I really want that thing? Is that good for me? Do I really, like 10, 20 years could go by before people realize, actually, this isn't the path that I wanted to be on.
And I think there's that listening to yourself, because I do believe everyone's got the answer 100%. So
Yeah.
in all of my coaching sessions coming from, different levels of people, I would say that all of them know exactly what it is they want, but the journey to get to that, I think that's the bit and that takes leadership within yourself to think, right, I need to get into that, to really listen to what my core is actually saying. Because we're in so much of a structure. We're in a structure of our day, within our work. There's so many structures around us that actually tapping into the leadership side, which really requires you to listen to and get in touch with your creative side, because leadership is creative. There isn't limits there. You can lead in any direction once you know the direction you want to go into. But everyone does genuinely know where they want to go. They don't necessarily articulate it, and I think me and you spoke about this, that using your five senses is a good way. So sometimes just going into looking at images or words, or because not everyone can articulate this is exactly what it is that I want or tap
Yeah.
into it, but they can fit. And it's interesting because I was thinking to myself with a client, you don't need to, because we've got so many senses. Let's use one of your senses, because one of them is going to lead us straight there.
Yeah. Yeah. Gosh, this is some of it sounds a bit woo-woo. That's the thing. Some of it sounds a bit, um, like people don't trust themselves, because we're so used to some external authority telling us what we need, telling us what's good for us, telling us that, well, actually, that thing is bad, don't go in that direction.
Mm.
That even I have this myself sometimes, where it's kind of, I don't know, because, and you don't know why you don't know. You just have this sense that, or I feel a little bit uncomfortable to go in that direction because it could be this, it could be that.
And
Uh,
that's practice, because that's when fear can come up. So intuition and fear sit so closely together. So really questioning yourself, that am I actually in a space of fear? And is that percentage of fear good? Because we all need to have a certain amount of fear for us to do it. We don't want too much complacency. And good leadership isn't about comfort and complacency. It is about stepping outside our comfort zone without the guarantee, but just a knowing. And then the next sign gets revealed, the next sign, and the next sign. But that bit there, and I've done so much work on this, whether it's your fear talking or whether it is your inner guidance or inner leadership talking.
and so I was saying this morning
Mm-hmm.
that that intuitive voice, there's only been, I can think of one example where we were recruiting at work, and the person they wanted to offer the job to checked
Yeah.
out logically in every way. So there was nothing that I could say, but for this reason, I don't think this person's a good fit. There was nothing that I could say logically, that it was just a feeling that I had that this isn't going to work out. There's something not right, but it's not something I could articulate. So I kind of just went along with it, because you can't just say, I don't think we should recruit that person because I've got a funny feeling.
Mm.
Um, so anyway, yes, we did recruit, and it went horribly wrong. And it wasn't good. It wasn't a good experience anyway. Um, and I thought from then on, if anything like this happens again and I get that quiet voice in there, I am going to listen to it. How I do it, I don't know, because if I'm in a corporate environment and I'm saying, don't take that person,
Yeah. And you
like
need to have,
how?
yeah, you need to have some proper justification on that.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's really interesting that you picked that up, because the old way of doing things was it would go on people's energy. You like that person, and it would, even today, still see people doing business based on that, the initial feeling that they get when they meet someone. But obviously there's the flip side to that as well, of needing to still give everyone an opportunity.
Mm.
And at which point do we get the balance of giving everyone an opportunity and also going with our gut instinct? And I think this is where you flip between being the manager and the leader, because what you can manage is not necessarily what you're going to lead.
Yeah.
That they're quite different. But I always find that your gut instinct very rarely fails you if you tap into it properly. And it's not your fear. Um, it just isn't ever wrong. And I always say that with clients, that um, your gut instinct will not be off. You've got to learn to trust it, but you're going to need a lot of experiences of doing that to build that confidence.
Of
So
getting it wrong, you mean, where you
yeah,
haven't
of
listened
like,
to it.
of just
Yeah.
now following it through when there's no logical explanation. And once you've followed it through several times, you're going to find that actually I can just trust it now. And so you're able to articulate that really well when you're making decisions, whether that's business decisions, personal decisions, life decisions. But I think it's about being very conscious. So this is what I would do with my client, being very conscious about that decision. So one of the things that I would ask is, I would ask that client, is this coming from your gut instinct or is this coming from your head? And the brain, remember the way the brain works, if you ask it a question, it has to answer it. But because I'm able to look at my client, I'm able to look and see all the changes within them to think, are they coming from here, or are they coming from their gut
Yeah,
instinct?
you're brilliant at that.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's one of the things that, and I think it's just because I've done thousands of them that I can tell which one lights up. But I remember my own coach. So when I was in the bank and I performed exceptionally well, my own coach said to me that, what would be my next career step? And when I talked about the work that I did, coaching and stuff, he could see me light up. And when we talked about the stuff that I would do logically next, you could see that there was just no point, because I didn't have that same
Mm.
flame, even though it was scary. And he was the one that actually said to me, come back out and go back in as a consultant, staying in the area that you like. And that was just based on, he could see what I was getting a lot of enjoyment from. Um, and that doesn't lie. You can tell in someone whether they really are passionate. And I do believe if you're doing what you should be doing, doors all open anyway. And you'll be respected for that.
That takes overcoming a lot of fear, though,
It does.
because what lights you up for some people is not what's going to pay the bills at the moment. Or again, it's another one of those, it doesn't logically check out for
I
X,
guess
Y,
it
Z
depends which
reasons.
area of your life you put that light up in. Are we putting it into your career? Are we putting it into your income? Are we putting it into your hobby? Are we putting it into relationship? Like, which area are we putting it in so it's actually got that light? Because what happens is, when we do have that stage for you to, shine that light, it'll have a knock-on effect, like a domino. And I've definitely coached people where that light has started off as a hobby and we've given it a space and then taken it into a career and then a good income stream. But it actually started off in a different area because we
There's
need to give
two,
it.
yeah, sorry. So there's two things. There's the knowing,
Yeah.
becoming aware of the knowing of what it is you want, and then the courage to follow through with the faith that it will work out eventually, even if not immediately.
And that's the bit. So the faith bit is the bit, and I love that. I love how you've done that. The faith bit is where you will get validation on, if this is what I should be doing, it's going to work out. But you do need to have the courage first. So get into that courage space, because everyone can think, oh, I want to be a millionaire, or I want to be this, or I want to, and I get loads of that. And that could be what they want, but it's not necessarily what their soul needs or what their skill set needs. And really cultivating what that is, when you're getting them to then step into that courage space, they're more likely to do it. because it's scary, but it also has got that nice mixture of excitement because it's something they want to do. It's not too much pie in the sky. It's very much, and that's when you can tell whether you're in alignment with something or not.
But the majority of people that I have coached to date come with a particular goal that they have.
Mm-hmm.
But when we delve deeper, they realize that that's not what they really want. And so there must be so many people out there who are living a life based on wants
Yes.
that are other people's wants or society's wants, not their true wants. But you could go a whole lifetime not living in accordance with your own soul's desire, I'm going to call it, not even realizing that the life you're living is not the life that you want.
Do you know, there's some interesting conversations that I've been having more recently about the portals of change that you go through, and that's as men and women. Um, Especially when I'm doing couples that going through marriages, and you've got your first 10 years. What does that mean? What does the second 10 years mean? And then you've got another layer of what does this mean for me? Like, what changes am I going through? Because all of these have to line up, and it's like a design that all has got, it's like a jigsaw, to be honest. It all lines up. Um, and when you're recognizing the portals of change that you're going through, so in your 40s, you're going through real liberation, especially as women. So those types of clients, I'm pushing them quite outside their comfort zone. But it's
I
interesting.
know.
And I don't give easy homework. And what I do find is that those ones, there's something inside them that just sometimes needs the permission, because we've grown up always needing permission, whether that's as a parent, as a teacher, as a manager. We need permission to go into all these different phases. And I love the term portals of change. Like, what portal of change are you in right now? And what is it that's gonna, because even if you're stable in every single area, you still need an area of growth. You still need an area where you are not scoring 10 out of 10. That, because that keeps your creativity alive, it keeps your leadership alive. You need an area where your brain has got curiosity. So when I did leadership training in the bank, you're coaching the leaders. You go back to like a child that's got no boundaries. There's no limits possible. And then they do make it possible. So if you look at children, if they want to get those cookies, they will find a creative way to not stop and still get it. Or
Yeah,
they will find a way to fix something together, even if it's not the way it's supposed to. They will find, because they're very much in touch with that leadership side. And I think that's the bit we lose, the permission to just be unstructured
yeah.
and playing your way through and feeling your emotions as to what feels right and doesn't feel right. And like I said, children form a very big part of leadership. They know when they're hungry. They know if they're not feeling safe. They know, and these are the things that we lose a little bit, and we need to tap back into that when we're doing leadership. Like
That's
knowing we need.
interesting. That's interesting because when you said 40s
Mm,
are the kind of like liberation portal,
yeah,
it did make me start thinking about when you try and give wisdom to a younger person, then normally not in a place where they can hear it. Like, there have been so many instances of when I was much younger where someone would give me a nugget and I
yeah,
would think, I know what I'm doing, that's rubbish or whatever. And then
yeah.
10 years later,
You like that?
that's
Look.
what they meant. So,
Yeah,
and I know at the moment you're starting to do some work with children or
yeah, yeah,
not
yeah. I
children,
find
young adults.
young adults, just that leadership side. I mean, I primarily my whole career has been on adults. My clients are always asking me to do some of their children just to get some of those things right. Um, I've just started to see this tiny gap in the sort of 13 to sort of 15, where that I do think it's a time that their inner leadership can actually start to be not heard.
Mm.
They can be influenced so much by externally what's going on, and they do have a bit more independence. So I think it's quite a key time to make sure that voice is heard a little bit more, because children are incredibly intelligent. And when I'm doing coaching, there's a lot of the times, I would say a good 50, 60% of the time, I do normally go back to something around that age
Mm.
with a client, and just aligning that confidence back, or if something that's been said or something misaligned. So I do find that quite an interesting area. But just going back to you saying the portals are changing 40s, in your 50s, you have a lot of wisdom. Just the what I'm finding with the change, wisdom is key. Like it's massive at that age for women. So, and then in the 60s, I've found that those same wonderful women, they actually become more like a child again. Like they just become like, I want to experience this, I want to experience that, I want to wear this, I want to. So they have like a new birth around that age. So when I used to coach women, and they think that as you're getting older or you're going up the levels, it gets, you've got less and less. I actually experience the opposite. I experience you become more liberated. Then you get into this next portal of change, which is about wisdom, where you really can inspire, like really inspire, because you've had your 40s where you're really discovering and really seeing what you can do. And then you've got this inspirational stage, which is amazing. I mean, I'm so blessed because I do get to witness this. And
Mm.
then when you see it with the men, it's slightly different. But women, it's very interesting what happens, and then they go back to being like a like a new birth, like a new adventure. That's the time when they have grandchildren in their 60s. They're enjoying the child phase again. They're wonderful as grandparents, but they're wonderful in terms of having fun. I've met the best women who have fun in their 60s and 70s. They know how to have better fun than the 20-year-olds. um,
Wow.
Again, that's if you're on that path, and especially for women, we go through so many portals of change, um, from our, what's expected of us, what our career ambitions are, and especially now, like I said, there's a lot of women in their 40s change their careers, and 50s. Massive time that I see career changes.
So the reason I went to what you were doing with um
Children.
the children was because I was thinking, if we could be able to tap into our inner knowing and our inner power much earlier on and carry that with us throughout life, then we'd be making more aligned decisions all the time. We'd be understanding a little bit more of, actually, I'm this kind of person. This is what I feel, this is what I need at this point in time.
Yes.
Actually, I don't need to go for that, I
Yeah.
don't know, that other high powered position or
Yeah.
whatever. That's not right for me right now, even though anyone else looking in would be saying, go for that. That, who wouldn't want to go for that? You'd
Yeah.
have the strength to be able to say, no, I know that's not right for me right now. I was thinking the younger you cultivated that.
Yeah.
But then if you don't have this liberation until in your 40s, like how.
Discovering. So you do, so if we've got them aligned to what feels right, because there's still an element of doing things that are uncomfortable. So, and it's interesting because I've just been coaching actually my son on some of this stuff, that in life is going to be some things that are uncomfortable and some things that are comfortable, and that's balance, because you need the positive and the negative. So we need to have balance. So getting to the top, talent alone will never get you to the top. No matter what you define as top, talent alone will not do that. You are still going to have to put the work in.
Mhm.
um and you need both. Or somebody who doesn't have talent but they've put the work in, well, they're going to be getting there anyway because they've put the work in.
Yeah.
So when you can cultivate what it is that I need, what pain level do I need to get to what feels good to me? Because so easily we want to, and especially in today's site, we want to almost overcompensate. And when we overcompensate and overcushion, we don't get to tap into our inner leader. The inner leader knows that what it is that we need. And if we did cultivate that, I think businesses and careers would be a completely different ballgame. And I think it's about experiences, because in your 20s you're still finding what people you socially connect with and vibe with, and what's expecting what's up. The only way you can do that is by trying it. That's the only way, by being thrown into all these different types of situations and not be tunnel vision. Have the friends that are a bit more geeky and see what you learn. Like having a mindset of going in, no matter what happens, you're going to absorb something wonderful, as opposed to going in to think, actually, I'm part of something, I'm part of a group, and I'm part of this, like, and this is the way, because we all want to be connected, we all want to be part of something. And that's when we lose some of our inner leadership. We lose some of that. But when you're in alignment with that, you'll gravitate, you'll just naturally gravitate.
Yeah. Yeah. So the leadership when you're younger is a different leadership to when you get to your 40s, 50s.
Yeah, because when you're younger, you're now choosing your social circles. So the social element is massive when you're younger. As you get older, you can pick and choose who you wish to spend time around.
Mm,
When you're younger, the whole thing of socially connecting and being part of a group or being part of something is much more prevalent. And this is where people can be squashed with, oh, I didn't really want to be in that situation, but
mm,
I didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't know how to have that voice to articulate, I like this or I don't like this, but I'm just putting up with it because I want to feel part of something. And I think if they get to it, and I will definitely be coaching this, if they get to a space where they look at it as like, what was okay for me and what was not, that's the bit that they need to really be able to understand. But when you get later, when you can make much bigger decisions. When they're younger, they can't make as much decisions. There's still limits.
mm. So is there an element of, for your growth,
Mm-hmm.
you are going to have to go through a period where you lose that ability to connect with your inner knowing. You're when you're sort of like in your teens, 20s, you kind of have to go through a period where you don't know, so that you get burnt a few
Yeah,
times, so that you then start to learn that actually I need to follow my gut a little bit
yeah,
more.
you've
I knew
got.
that wasn't right and I still did it, kind of thing.
And the thing is, they do know this. Children really do know this. Like they know from such a young age what's right and wrong. And when they get to their teens, it's knowing what triggered them to do certain actions that wasn't in alignment. um, and to get them to question it rather than getting straight into something's right or wrong, but what is it that has triggered it? Because that will really get them to, and also they're going through so many emotions, like they're learning about emotional intelligence at that age, which, even into I mean, I coach men in their 50s, which I'm still coaching on emotional intelligence stuff, because we're not taught how to understand our emotions. And
Yeah.
sometimes, especially children, there's massive emotions. And is it always about knocking them down with those emotions? And I'm quite big on emotional intelligence stuff. Like,
Mm,
it's okay to be angry. It's okay to have tantrums. And it's okay, like, but it's easy for a teacher if they're just quiet and listen and don't be chat, and easy for a parent if like, but that's not normal. Like we
yeah.
have emotions and we need to have the space to be able to think, well, what has made that happen? Because you can channel emotions powerfully.
Yeah.
Child that's got a lot of anger, they've got a lot of energy. Let's put that into something you need anger for. And I do this with adults as well, when I can see that they've been triggered about that. And I think, right, I'm taking that, which I see as a strength, and I'm going to go pour it into something that I want making fast.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm very good at cleaning when I'm highly emotionally charged. I can go
Yeah.
fast, but I think it's about channeling your emotions, which is all part of leadership as well. How you can channel the feelings that are coming up, so you can actually get to the root of what is fear, what is life experience, and what is your inner knowing telling you.
So,
And if your inner knowing is telling you that you want to be doing this, then let's follow it. And you're going to find, I mean, I'm a little bit old school, but you know, the book, The Alchemist, which I love.
Yes. Yeah.
I just think that is a brilliant, like the moment you have made that decision, it's like the whole universe will start to support you. And I mean that even with teachers and parents. But the moment you make that decision, and
Yeah.
we're so fearful when we're younger to be isolated, to be the odd one out, we all kind of want to fit into a space.
Even as adults.
I get this loads as adults. So I'm normally unpacking, which is why I want to do a little bit with children now, but it's normally why I'm unpacking some of that stuff. And like I said, that key bit there, the one thing that I've done, and I've done over 100,000 coaches, I've done loads of coach sessions.
Yeah.
One thing that I have found is giving that client permission. And I know I've touched on it earlier, but I can't tell you how important that is, that just having the permission to listen to themselves, having the permission to, there might be another way of looking at things, and actually just having that permission to be heard is just huge. It's like you're giving yourself permission to be you,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is like and actually if you're you, that's wonderful. Like no two people are the same. You're brought here to be you.
Yeah.
It's like there's that coaching that they do where it's like if you look at a jigsaw, every single piece counts.
Yeah.
Every single piece is different. And it is, whether that's the shape or the pattern or whatever it is, every single piece is different and every single piece is needed. Well, I've got chills as I say that.
Yeah.
Because I think humans are wonderful when we come together, and so much of that gets suppressed. And we can't do that because we're not in our vibrancy then.
And I think that's a lot of what, at least what transformational coaching, which is,
Yeah.
I would say you do transformational coaching as well. I think that's what a lot of it is about, is to almost, I'm going to use the word heal, and it's just because that's all I can think of. Heal
Mm-hmm.
that disconnection that we get as we go from teens to 20s or whatever. We get more and more disconnected. And when you were saying that the children want to fit in and they want to be in, you know,
Yeah.
I was saying so do adults, and maybe we're speaking to the child in the adult. When you
Yeah.
say give the permission, you're giving the permission to the child in the adult.
Absolutely. You've just touched on a little bit of inner child work.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
going, and I think that's so powerful. And I remember a lady that I worked with, and before we actually started on the business stuff, we actually just sat and created the relationship with the inner child, because she couldn't tap into the sources that I needed her to tap into. This inner child side was just not able, and she needed to quieten the mind, go to the part. She had to really try connect him, and obviously, and you'll know there's sessions you can do specifically around this.
mm,
And really connect. And we used a bit of NLP with that one, where we connected. Once we'd got that feeling, we just locked it into the body so we could then use it in the present. But when we're out of sync with that inner child side, you can see that's affected in everyday life.
yeah,
You can literally, and you'll see this as a coach, you can see those people that are disconnected and need to go back to that space. Like I said to you, the ladies in the 60s and 70s, they are fully aware of they need to be in that. They've already been through life. That's like they need to always keep that side alive.
yeah,
Yeah, and I like the way you've described that. You do go back to that part. And the healing part, I think you can choose the bits that you want to heal and which are the bits that serve their purpose.
yeah,
All of the years that I've done it, there were times when I would really dig into stuff, and there were other times when I think, do what I think that part should be healed in the client, or should we just leave that and let's heal this one, because this one's going to give me a bigger result right now.
and we're not going to be able to heal everything. That's the other thing.
No, because we're here to learn, we're here to
Yeah,
experience those things anyway. um and we can't, there's got to be a cut-off point as well, of where we can heal certain things, but we also need to create things, and some things are just part of our journey. It's like when you're learning how to walk, you're going to have some falls.
mm,
You don't need to go into the falls so much because you've learned how to walk. You couldn't have done it without it. Um, and so it's seeing it as which are the parts of my training plan and which are the bits that, oh, hang on a minute, I need to heal this. But if I'm healing it, what's going to be the benefit? Am I helping others because I'm healed, because my vibration is higher? Or am I going to bring it into my work? Or Is it just a shadow that I've been carrying with me that's preventing me from doing other stuff, which I see a lot with clients. So I can tell with a client if there is things that are unhealed that's blocking where I want them to go. And then I will definitely be going into, and I really want the client to be a bit of self leadership on that as well, to take ownership and empower it, because you've got the power to do it all. If you've got the right tools, you can do it. And
Yeah.
it's about having the right tools.
And the other reason I'm passionate about self-leadership is because of the amount of nervous system dysregulation there is, the amount of, there are so many things that are phrases that are so well worn that it's almost like they lose meaning. So we often say stress is a killer or something like that, but actually it just sounds like it's words, but it actually is. And one of the reasons I want people to be able to lead themselves better is to, like you say, channel that anger so that it doesn't get lodged in your
Yeah,
body somehow and then start to cause you health problems later on. Um, that was something we were talking about this morning. Um, be able to know that there are so many different layers to things. So if you do have an illness, yes, there's a things that you need to do on a, I'm going to say 3D. Sorry, I'm being spiritual, but when I say on a
yeah,
3D, I mean on the bodily
yeah.
level. But you may also need to heal that energetically. You may also need to do other types of more soul-based work to help you through something.
100%.
And it's getting to know yourself well enough to know what you need and to get access to those different things, and maybe not just look at what's happening from one perspective only, but looking at yourself as the mind, body, soul. How do you align all of that?
You know, I mean, as you're talking, what's coming to my mind is I experienced my mom going through cancer not long ago, and she was at fourth stage, so the last stage. And obviously, there's the medical side, which was phenomenal. What went on there, but on the mind side, which is the bit that I did with her, it was so important the language that was used. And what we found is, and I know this anyway, what you're finding is that so many other people's projections can actually really affect you in that state. So
Yeah.
obviously she lost weight, she lost her hair, all of these things.
Mm,
One of the things that I worked with her on like daily was the language in which was used. It was like, there's a rebirth. There's a rebirth. We are shedding. There is a rebirth. And going back to that. So all she saw was something brand new every day. And it was interesting because I really thought about how I wanted that to look. So I wanted her to have a different image that she looked at day in, day out. Because when you're poorly and you're going through stuff, your mind needs to stay really creative. But if you're bedridden, you can't actually go out and do that.
mm,
I used to use all the senses, the sound, scent, bedding, different views that I wanted her to look at. And when, the nurses came in and they gave her all of the equipment she needed, I was like, no, this is going to make someone feel more ill. And the
mm,
mind, and I truly believe it's because she made a miraculous recovery, and that was at last stage. The
brilliant.
mind was what I really truly believe that the mind, because she carried that in a particular space. And that's when your faith, going back to when you've got to have the courage and then the faith,
Yeah.
literally carried her through, because it's so easy to look at someone going through that, but pouring in, it really was a sign of, you've got the medical side, but my God, the mind is powerful. And
Yes.
you decide it is. And each doctor that we saw some amazing doctors. Some of the main things that they said was, it'll be the mind that decides whether she, what her journey is going to be like.
Mm,
Um, and it's the way you look at a problem. If you see it as an opportunity, or you see it as being a downward, so whichever the destination is, it's still about how you look at it. Um, and I think that's really, really, I mean, it was just triggering me when you were just saying that you've got to see them all together.
yeah. Yeah. Wow. Powerful stuff. So my mind is trying to get me to bring this into, for some reason, the workplace setting.
Yep.
I don't know why it wants me to do that, but let's go there.
Okay.
So, how do we take all of this into our 9 to 5 3D
Well,
existence?
purpose. So knowing what your purpose is. So knowing what the purpose is of when you go to work, what you're supposed to be getting out of work. Like go into more than just the job. Like, what is this? And you know, when I've coached people that are in jobs that want to leave the company, one of the things that I've always made clear is you're not leaving a company just as a sideways mood, as a plaster, because then that problem is just going with you. So when you're, whatever environment you are in, whatever it is, you need to have purpose and you need to show up with purpose.
Yeah.
That this is giving me whatever the positives are, and if there's some challenges, then actually these are the challenges that I need to overcome before I then make this move or that move. Because we're not then hiding away from anything. We're seeing everything as an opportunity. And that, when you see things as an opportunity, 100% do you tap into your leadership and you tap into your, I would probably say what the amount of power that you've got. And one of the things to do, this is how you can bring it into the workplace. If you look at what you can control, then you've got 50% control of, and then you've got 0% control of. So maybe, and you work on the bit that you've got control of. So you can control, I don't know, maybe what your day looks like on that day, because you can control your diary, but you can't control how many great customers you're going to have or how many, whatever that is. But knowing where are you sitting, because I would always encourage the client, always try to know that 100% that you've got control of, really maximize that. And then the bits that you've got zero control of, you need to not put your head there. So you've got no control of if the business is making cuts or these decisions. Like, you haven't really got control of that. Like, that may not be part of where you're at. But what can you influence and what can you do? That's your leader, inner leader. What can you actually do? So I do this loads of clients, that bring the control back to you. Don't put it outside of yourself. And that's the same with any. I mean, I'm doing some employee engagement work at the moment where I'm tapping into the inner leader of each person. And they take control of what influence that they can bring. What can they bring to the table? Let's make it more than just work. Because that's all about engagement. If you to have engagement, you need to have engagement within yourself.
Yeah.
And
But that's interesting what you're saying, because we're in an environment where many firms are reducing, they're contracting and reducing their workforce. So people are working under the threat of redundancy.
yeah,
And so that is naturally going to bring up fears, especially depending on where they are in their career journey, where
yes,
they are in their life journey. So if they've got a young family and they've got a big mortgage, etc., etc. So if you're in that kind of scenario and the fear comes up, but this is, you can't control, like you were saying, you can't control. You might be one of the people who gets laid off.
that's in the 0%. So you can't control anything there, because you might be that person. You could be great friends. You may have had a brilliant performance review, all the rest that you still cannot control whether you could be.
Ooh.
Oh, well, obviously that didn't want to get control.
What's the message in that? Yeah.
But what I would say, and this is a really interesting topic here, is there are two types of people. The one that needs to be planned in their next move. So they need to have savings. They need to have, right, I'm going to do it by this month, and I need to have done this, and I need to have done that. And that will produce brilliant results for them.
Yeah.
Then you've got ones that actually, once they're just chucked into the water, they'll swim. So actually, if they're given too much security, they're not going to do anything.
Yeah.
And knowing which one you are, because everyone would like the other one, to think, right, well, I've got enough and I've got this and I've got that. But actually, is that the one that's going to produce the best results?
Yeah.
And what you want to be doing as the in leaders, you need to press the one that's going to give you the best result. Which is the one that is going to make you fire up and get that done? Whatever that move is, if it's you're looking for a new career or you don't want to wait till it's been said to you. But if you know, for example, you talking about redundancies, there's a possibility of redundancies. And it depends how you want to digest that. If you could be one of those, then you do need to be thinking, do I need to be on a practical level? Do I need to be going out there searching for other jobs? Or am I going to use this as an opportunity, which I have done with one client who's C-suite level? Am I going to use this as an opportunity to do something that I might not have done? So when it comes to my redundancy, I'm going to negotiate, which I'll then help them with negotiating. So
Mm.
do you see how I'm
Yeah,
bringing the power back, that actually this is a great opportunity, irrespective if it's a challenge. Because remember, whenever one door shuts, there's another one opening, or at least a window. There's definitely something opening. And we need to keep our eye on which one's going to open. And I think it's a healthy mindset to have anyway, like when you're
mm,
dealing with a career, that you could be easily replaced, or no job now is a job for life, and you don't even
yeah,
have a career for life anymore.
yeah,
You don't do one career. Like, so we're always in that change, which I think is brilliant. Whilst it can be destabilizing, if you think back, which is what I would get a client to do, if you think back to some of your worst circumstances that you've had, you've got through them. So
yeah,
sometimes, and I would normally pick on that with the clients, think about what's some of your, especially when I'm working with them and they think that something is challenging, when I actually know that I've given them something much harder to do earlier on. That was
yeah,
when they were less able to do stuff. And I think it's remembering that our minds, and we can actually cope with a lot more than we actually think.
yeah.
And that's the way you can stretch. I mean, coaching with, coaching comes from, from sports as well. And it's the mind which will dictate how far the body can go,
Mm,
not the body itself. And I love that analogy. Like, I just love that shows you how powerful our mind is, that once we've decided, and going back to the alchemist, once you've decided, okay, there's a possibility of redundancies, let me use this as an opportunity. So the lady that I was talking about, who's C-suite level, she dragged it out for about a year, and she ended up then setting up a business. um, She's not a business person, but it is something she's been wanting to do.
mm-hmm,
So she used her space to then do that before she now needs to do, it's not a sideways step, she actually needs to do a complete career change. But those seeds were already brought in earlier on when we knew there was possibility of redundancy. Either she moves in the company, or she takes a sabbatical and thinks, right, I'll take some time out, but really took charge of, well, what do I want to do? What do I, and that helped with negotiating her package as well, because she knew then that, okay, we'll do a little bit on this business that I've wanted to do. I'm not entrepreneurial, but I would love to do this. It's not
mm,
going to give me it's not going to cover what I want, but it's still something she needed to do. So we put that into a bit more of the hobbies area, but it still generated an income.
mm.
And so I'll be using that with her later, like how she can generate, more from that. But I think it's about being creative. Leadership is about being creative. Tap into that. How creative can you get? What are you made of?
This now I can't remember if I said talked about faith with you or faith with Tucci, but that one of those other well-worn phrases is when one door closes, another one opens.
Yeah.
But how can we get people to a place where they actually trust that? Because again, it's another one of those, yeah, when one door closes, another one opens. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, pushing them. I think us as coaches need to give them that confidence. And well, you'll know this. Like,
Yeah,
so it's having that confidence that, because when you know you've got your client, okay, and and it's stuff that comes throughout time, and I know you're like this, you're thinking, right, I'm going to push you here, let's see what happens. And we need to have a bit of this, like,
yeah,
because you do it as children, you make them get up and keep walking and keep trying to, so why are we not doing that as adults? Like,
yeah,
we need to still be doing that, um, and pushing them to show them what they're capable of.
yeah.
Um, and they need to have that 5% fear. If they don't have some fear there, it's not worth doing. I want my client to feel a little bit of fear, because then when they get through it, they think, oh my God, wow, I've been able to do that.
Yeah.
Then it becomes excitement. But I do think it's down to us as coaches to be able to navigate that with a client.
So another area where people lose faith is if they, because we are in this world of instant gratification,
Yeah.
they may try something once or twice and it doesn't work. So then it just kind of, well, that's not going to work. Like, how do we, when you're trusting
Guidance and your inner lead.
inner voice and your inner guidance, as you were saying, how do people know? Because I think this is what confuses them, when to, okay, just accept, I need to just stop flogging this horse because it's, sorry, forgive me for that metaphor, because it's not going anywhere. The horse is kaput. Um,
When you are, I've got a
there's no
brilliant.
sense in flogging a dead horse. Sorry,
No, I've
but
got a brilliant example on this because there's a lady that I coached and she'd been at something for quite a long time. And I'd brought in other people as well, other investors and other people to look like some real, like some proper people to the table. Um, and it was at that point, it had moved from being, I want to, a passion that she wants to serve so many people and what she believed in the project, to it being, hang on a minute, you've been at this for quite a long time. Have you already got enough validation that you did that? Or
mm,
are you actually just doing it for the sake of you don't want to be proved wrong? Like, who is the one that you're proving it to? Are you proving it to outside people or are you proving it to yourself?
yeah,
That you can do, and knowing to have that hard conversation, what is my key driver, because your driver can change what it started out at and where it is here. You need to check if those drivers are still the same, because sometimes that journey has become so wearing and so many of the things have then come into play that
mm,
you do need to recheck, why is it that I'm doing it, what is the purpose that I'm doing, is it still this, is it still this, or is it not? Is it that along the way I've grown and developed and I've had all these different experiences that actually my purpose has changed now?
yeah,
And that's not seen as a failure. Because that whole thing, sometimes people can be driven just for the sake of, I don't want to have failed at this.
yeah. If I stop now, how's it going to look? Yeah,
And that's quite a big one, especially to, I mean, I've had, that's the lady I was talking about, but I've had, males are quite, that's a really interesting one with
mm,
males because they find that a lot harder, because they want to keep at it. But going back to the purpose, why you did it, is it still the same? Um, is why you're staying in that job still the same? Is the reason you've started a particular project, is the reason still? And it's good to have a good check-in every year anyway on that.
and that's where a good coach comes in, I think. Otherwise, you just get lost, just fighting and fighting and fighting,
This
and
journey does lose you because you're going to go
yeah,
into loads of different directions. You're going to go into great stuff, not so great stuff, learning experiences. You're going to have some pitfalls. So this will build your character, and you then have to review it again from the person you are here, not the person you are here, because you've grown now. We need to review it here and who
yeah,
you are here. Um, and it's interesting because especially clients I've been with for a few years, um, some of the conversations that I would be having with them now, I could never have at this stage here because they just haven't, but they're very different now. This person here would be thinking survival is the most important thing right now, which it was at that point.
mm,
That is exactly what they needed. They needed to be in survival mode. But we're not in survival mode anymore. And what happens is if you don't have a good coach, as human beings, you don't know when you've come out of that phase.
yes,
Need someone to say
yes,
you come out of that now, you're not that woman, or you're not in that space, or you're not, like, you've come out of it. Even as
yeah,
coaches, I think coaches need to tell coaches each other as well, you're not in there anymore, you've done it.
yeah.
You could end up doing tons of courses until you're 80 and still never start coaching. The amount of coaches I've met like that, I even had that said to me, that you think, I'll just do this and I'll just do this and I'll just do this and then I'll start. So it is really checking where you're at. I don't know if you
Yeah,
agree with that.
yeah, definitely, definitely. And I wish more people knew this.
I do.
Um, but yeah,
And like I said, that survival and creativity, where are you operating? Have you managed to hit the threshold of, I think I've made stuff happen out of nothing, so I can do it.
yeah,
It might not be in one area, it might be in another area, but the fact is you've done it. So I would pick that with a client. I'd look in their life, where have they achieved it in another area? Because I will take that. The brain will know I've achieved something that was not possible and then put it into the area that I need.
yeah,
Do that. It's been creative. That's been our own leader. It's like looking at ourselves.
yeah.
good. I'll have this. I'll like cultivating it from that space, but definitely that check-in, I just think is massive. And time, one of the things that you mentioned, how do you know? I think people can get disheartened when there's a time frame. And one of the things that I don't like to do too much with a client is put a very strict time frame on it, because you can make something go happen quick as you want if you put the work in, or it can go in its own pace. But I've got some clients that would actually feel really anxious with it. It's not happened at this exact point, and it's not
Mm.
happened. And that's then you're dealing with anxiety, you're dealing with expectations, and you're ruining the flow of timing.
Yeah, you can actually block your progress that way.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Why has it not happened yet? I've done this, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this. And it's
yeah,
like the ingredients are there. You've got to, at some level, trust. It
yeah,
will just, it's not as, that's too masculine. Allow the feminine energy to flow.
yeah.
But I do think time's a big one.
So, how does great self-leadership make you a better leader of others?
Do you know, I think it goes back to being inspiring, because people can activate their own inner leadership just by hearing something inspirational. And
Yeah,
if you are an inspired person, it will just activate certain things inside you. I've worked with some brilliant CEOs, and all of them had the same trait. They knew how to do brilliant storytelling. They wouldn't tell you how to do your job or what you were good at or what you could or couldn't do. They
mm,
would just, they would have this energy about them, which is just inspiring.
yeah,
It's like, I could do that. Or it's possible that there's something else. It's possible. Like that inspiration, you can't, everyone's got it, but uncovering it is another thing.
mm.
But I think when you
Also,
come,
yeah, it might also be seeing them make the hard decisions, the uncomfortable ones, or and having the bravery to stick with their gut feel on something, even when everyone else around them's kind of saying, that's not going to work.
when you've done that, you can then review and think, is that, well, did that come from fear? Did
Mm,
it come from my ego? Did it come from my spiritual needing to experience that? Once you've done it. And I think when you have that evaluation, this is when you start to get really confident with listening to your gut instinct that, oh, okay,
yeah,
now my gut instinct's doing this, or my gut instinct's telling me to do this, or is it preventing me from something negative that could happen, or is it making me do it because I'm going to learn something new, but it's going to be scary in the beginning? And these are the questions that go through your head when you're listening to your gut instinct with leadership, I think.
and I think that self-leadership is always an ongoing thing. So it might be, yes, I succeeded in having faith around this particular thing, and eventually it did deliver. And I knew it was going to deliver because X, Y, and Z, and I did this and I did that. And you almost think that's got me to a place of confidence of knowing, but it's only until the next challenge comes along. And then you're kind of back there again. It's like, what might get easier is the knowing the feeling that comes up when you're starting to get into fear and
Yeah.
not knowing, is this going to work, blah, 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 and being able to bring yourself back to, okay, just
What's the worst that's
presence.
going to happen? You bring yourself
Yeah,
into what is the worst that is going to happen? And you can really dig down into that. The worst that's going to happen is I might have, and you go into the negatives first. And then you find by the time you dig down about the worst that can happen, not really that big, because you've now brought it to the surface. The
yeah,
worst that can happen is the things that you're not aware of that just catch you by surprise. But the part, I mean, you're a brilliant leader, because I think good leaders always surround themselves with the right people. And you need to have, like, leaders have good people around them. because they're aware of, okay, I need this, I need that. That's what a leader does. It needs to know if it's going to lead something. You need to have your army around you, whoever that army is, and a good leader will have that, which you
Yeah.
have. So you know that, okay, that's for that, this is for that, and so you can feel very confident because you know your team, even if those people don't know they're on your team, because it doesn't matter. You've
Yeah.
already signed them. Like,
Yeah.
and that's the way to look at it, that you're leading and you've got people on your team.
Yeah.
Because like I said, we're not islands. Islands sink. We are all connected, but you can still be your own leader and be connected and support each other, being your individual self.
Yeah. For sure. So while I look at my questions, just to make sure I've covered
Covered.
off what I wanted to cover off, um, is there anything that you wanted to say about self-leadership that you don't think we've covered?
I mean, we have covered quite a lot, but I would say
Yeah.
that, you know what, anything is possible. And it's just finding the right strategy and the right pathway to that. And not just that, but also knowing which area of our life we want to put that into. Do we
Yeah.
want to put it into your self-development area? Do we want to put it into your um, work area, into your marriage area? Well, what area do you want to put it into? And but anything is possible. When you get into that space, you are your own leader and you are your own creator, manifester, and surround yourself, like we were just mentioning, surround yourself with that. Don't expect that to just come to you. You literally need to be a bit like a hunter. You need to
Yeah.
make sure you're getting put on the table continuously. It doesn't just come from nowhere. I've never met a successful person that hasn't had to do the work in the background.
Yeah.
And I've coached loads. I've coached famous people as well. And it may seem like things are easy, but they have an army of people. And your everyday people, they will have people behind them that they're doing the work.
Yeah. So for anyone who's saying, I really don't know how to start tapping into what I really feel inside, or tapping into this inner knowing or my gut, where would where could they start to?
I think where I would get them to start is, and I think we've done a little bit of this, is to create a vision board, create an image of just lots of words and like to create that, because the soul will tell you what it's looking for. Obviously it's better if somebody else looks at that,
Mm,
because someone else will be able to see more deeply, which is, you know, the stuff that I do. But I
mm,
think that's a really good starting point. And when I hear clients say this, that is definitely one space that I start. That either I get them to write or to create like a collage of stuff. And
yeah.
then you can start to go deep. And within that collage, you're going to be able to see, as a coach, you're going to be able to see what blocks they've got, because you'll be able to see
Yeah.
that very clear. Oh, these are some of the blocks that they've got. But this is where they're trying to get to. And it's not about creating, steps that I want to climb up to be at this position. It's not about that. It's about being creative. So when you look at where you start, what makes you feel content, inspired, and you just start typing away into the internet and start creating. So, get some magazines. I think that's a brilliant, brilliant way to start. And another technique that I've done is that you use your non-dominant hand and allow it to just do automatic writing, which is
Yeah.
so powerful.
Yeah.
And then read what it comes out with, because it's getting outside of yourself,
Yeah. Yeah.
which,
Brilliant.
which is key.
So, are you taking on new clients at the moment?
I am. So I'm working on some new projects, um, because I want to reach more people now, um, in different areas. So yeah, I'm taking on. I work quite creative. Well, you know, I work quite creatively, but
Mm.
everyone has to deliver results.
Yeah.
I need you all delivering, because I believe in people. I'm like, if you're doing what you should be doing, then that's great, because then you hit all these people. And then if I'm doing what I should be
Yeah.
doing, and this is where we work together. So I'm very
Yeah.
passionate about that. And obviously, you know, I help with coaches and also individuals. but this area of topic is, you know, the intuitive side and the inner leadership side and the manifesting side, massive things that I love. I love that type, and I've had so much success in that when I've been looking at
Yeah,
manifesting. Yeah, like some
yeah,
really cool stuff, which is not this topic here, but the manifesting stuff, yeah.
yeah. So, where can people find you if they wanted to? I mean, I'm going to put it in the show notes anyway.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
if people are thinking, oh, I love what she's saying, I want to get in touch with her.
Reach out to me.
Yeah.
So I've actually worked quite exclusively, which you will know. So in the past, I've not been available to people because it's literally if you've met me, and I've done that for 15 years. Um,
Okay.
so I've not done websites or
So
been
it's
able
on a word of mouth sort of
to have.
basis.
Yes, I've built my whole business based on word of mouth for that long,
Wow.
which is massive. Obviously, I'm now doing some newer stuff
Yeah.
where people can access me a bit more, but they're able to contact you to speak to me directly, which I'm happy to do.
Yeah.
I'm happy to offer like, you know, just a free 30 minutes and have a little chat on what if this has inspired them.
Yeah,
So
that would be great.
yeah,
Yeah.
let's do that.
Thank you for that. That's a great offer. So I will put that in the show notes. Thank you. And what about the work that you're looking to do with the younger generation?
Younger generation. So you'll hear a bit more about that because I've actually got some investors involved in that because it's going to be rolled out. And I'm actually probably going to look at coaches as well on that, like some of the coaches to get involved in that and some inspirational things that I want programming into these kids' minds to see what, you know, what's out there. But I've developed a video series for that. So that is going to be, which I'll speak to you about, that is going to be getting rolled out soon because it's just something I'm so passionate about.
Yeah, yeah, I can tell.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I think it's good for the youth, for the younger people to see the ones that are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s to see this is there's a nice synergy here.
yeah,
Well, what and it is
yeah.
like I learn from the younger ones, just like the younger ones need to learn from the older ones. Like that part, leadership doesn't have an age.
And they
I
keep
love
us
that.
fresh. They keep us tapped into that other
Absolutely.
side.
And
Yeah.
we need that. We need to not get stale.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Priya, thank you so much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure. So much good stuff in there. So I'm looking forward to putting this one out.
Super. I've
Um,
loved it. Thank you for having
I'm
me.
Yeah, I'm going to say goodbye to the audience, but please don't go anywhere. We will say our goodbyes off camera.
Okay.
But once again, thank you very much, everyone. She is the most awesome, intuitive coach. She scares me sometimes. The things that she can pick up, but she's brilliant. So yes, okie doke. All right, guys, take care and see you next time.